Hi, everybody. So, in this weekly overview, I want to focus on the one task that you have due this week, which is the Unit 3B progress checkpoint, which is going to be a chance to do some editing based on some grammar units that I would like you to read within the course. So, the first thing that I want to point out is a big update that I have changed the due date to be on Sunday, July 3rd. So, nothing is due on Wednesday. This is going to be due on July 3rd instead. If you check out the announcement, you'll see that I do include a note in the announcement that you're probably going to want to finish this. In fact, I am telling you to do this progress checkpoint before turning in your 101 progress check, which is going to be the draft of your summary response essay. And the reason why is because you're going to be making improvements on it in this. So it seems silly to have you turn this in after and turn in an unedited version before. The purpose of this particular assignment is for you to look over some of the grammar resources. Specifically, I want you to read these three articles and do the practices in them. So if you click on this one, this is where do I place a comma? And you can see there's some basics of it. And down here, there's a video to watch, a couple videos. And then there's also this slideshow, which allows you to do a little practice. So you can click and drag the commas over and figure out where they go to get some practice. Same deal. I don't really know what's going on here. Yeah, okay. I think those were just the instructions. So like, does it go here? Does it go here? Some practice that you can do with commas based on the information. So I would like you to play around with these. There's also an article on sentence structure and parts of a sentence. And if you're wondering why we're talking about types of a sentence, because it's important to understand the basic fundamentals of sentences in order to attack some of the biggest problems that we tend to have, which are fragments and run-on sentences. And so this is just a little bit of background helping to understand these things. Honestly, fragments and run-ons are sometimes more of a stylistic issue. But what we're working towards is creating papers that don't have fragments and run-ons that create confusion. Because at best, they're just a little bit casual for formal writing, but at worst, run-ons and fragments can make your writing less clear, less accessible for people to understand what you're trying to say. So that's one reason that it's a good idea to learn about the parts and the pieces of a sentence, so that once you understand the difference between a dependent clause and an independent clause, you understand a little bit more about actually putting them together. You can see that there's also some, practices down here if you want to fill these out. I'm not going to force you to fill these out, but you're more than welcome to do some of the practices if you want to test yourself. Because ultimately, what I'm hoping that you will do, or I'm asking you to do, is use this information to make changes to your own writing. So there's one more article. Once you learn about sentence structure, there's another one about revising sentences, specifically fragments, run-ons, and comma splices, which are a special kind of run-on. So you can see that there's some information here, but some practices also included some videos that you can play to get an idea of dealing with these types of errors. Then what I actually want you to do for your Unit 3 progress check for 101 is I want you to use what you have learned to do a thorough edit of your grammar, just focusing on these issues. Mark any changes that you make in red. If you can't find any comma errors, right, no comma errors detected at the bottom of your page. If you do not have any run-ons or sentence fragments, right, no sentence errors, and bold at the bottom of the page. So what I would like you to do, if that ultimately is submit this marked up copy of the Unit 3 progress check with your red corrections. If you miss a comma, I don't care. If you still submit this and you have a fragment in there, I don't care about that either. What I'm looking for is your sort of signing off that you have attempted to do some of this editing work to try and catch those mistakes before just sort of throwing the draft out to the world. So what I have here is a sample that I'm going to post in the announcement. And you can see that here's my title page. And I'm going to do this so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to look through here and there's an introductory clause right there that needs a comma. So I'm going to add it. I'm going to tell you right now, I doctored this a little bit and added some fragments and run-ons so I can show you how I want you to write edits in your own version. But I can, I will fully admit that when I was looking over this sample draft that I wrote that you can see in your 103 course, in real life, your English teacher left that comma off because commas are hard. Commas are difficult and there are tons of them. It is very easy to make comma errors and people make them all the time, including professionals and teachers the world over. But the thing about commas is it's sort of like listening to somebody doing a speech. Once they start saying so much that the audience notices, it's the only thing the audience can hear. Once you start committing so many comma mistakes that they become more apparent, it's the first thing that people start sort of looking at and saying like, oh, this isn't here, this is confusing. So what you want to do with commas is eliminate some of your comma mistakes. If you don't eliminate all of them, that's fine, but it is a good practice to try and get rid of some of them. So go through and look and see, are there commas that you need to add? Or are there commas, let's say you have one right here, that you need to get rid of? You can do red and then a little strike through to indicate that you're going to get rid of that thing. If you don't have any commas, in bold at the bottom, write no comma errors. Just like that. Just so I know that you have gone through the process of revision. Now I'm going to look for sentence issues. I'm going to look for fragments and I'm going to look for run-ons. Oh, this is one that I did earlier. You can see that it's that's my error. So this, in her 2022 article, Why is APA So Annoying, Kathleen Shaw explains that while citation is the right way to give deserved credit, period, that is a sentence fragment. Because this subordinating conjunction, while, means that something else needs to happen. Typically, the best way to fix this issue is to combine the sentences. So if you want to show me that you've done that, what you can do is you can just copy and paste the sentence and put it in red right after. And show me how you would fix the issue. When you go to actually turn in your final paper, your final draft of 101, what you can do is get rid of the old issue and turn it back into black. But what you're doing for me here is just tracking that you're trying to solve these problems. Another one is down here. This is a comma splice. So I'm going to fix that. You can tell because we've got an independent clause and then a whole other independent clause. And I'm going to fix that. I could choose to do this in two different ways. I could do this. Or I could do this. It's up to me, but I'm fixing my comma splice issue. And I'm going to go through here and I'm going to see, are there any more commas? Are there any more issues? Again, you may have written a paper without fragments or run-ons, which initially this sample paper was. There were definitely some comma errors, but I did not have any sentence errors. So really, I would have written no sentence errors. And I would spell it right at the bottom and put it in bold. This is really just you showing me that you're going through the work to try and apply what you learned about commas to your paper and apply what you learned about sentence structure and fragments to your paper. And then so you would just upload this, lovely, to your O11 class. And then for your 101 draft, it would be in even better shape. And you could just go something like, in this case, you would, like I said, you wouldn't want to have the sentence in there twice, but you could erase that. And then you could do Control A, and you could make sure it's all in black and get rid of that. And boom, you have this lovely, ready to go edited paper to then turn into 101. So I hope that makes sense. Basically, what I'm asking you to do is just track the changes that you made. So that I know that you're making an effort to apply what you learned in those articles to your editing process.